This is going to be the regular meeting of the Mason City Council on June 7th, 2011. I want to make two quick notes. This weekend is the McNider Arts Festival, our very fine museum in town. There's a lot of really nice events. Make sure to check the events to see what's going on. Hopefully we'll see everybody down there. And second, I just want to make a quick note. We've had people mention that they were curious what we have in these packets. And you can find that on masoncity.net. If you go over on the top right side, the Your Government, and you scroll down to Mayor and Council, you'll see a listing there for the packet that we have. It's available to everybody in Mason City. We'll call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. We're going to pull number 22, and we're going to add an addendum, which is 18C. Is there a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the pulling of number 22 and adding 18C?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, well, we're going to start off tonight with a special item of business. We have with us Jim Collins of Alliant Energy, and he's going to make a presentation.
Honorable Mayor Holtmeyer, members of the City Council, and City Administrator Trout. Today it gives me great pleasure to present a check to the City of Mason City for energy efficiency measures incorporated into the expansion of our wastewater treatment system, our plant. The new plant uses advanced controls and efficient pumps and motors that will save over 800,000 kilowatt hours per year. That equals $49,000 per year in energy costs. I want to give special thanks to Brent Trout and Bill Stangler for working with me to gather the needed information to make the calculations for this check. So, on behalf of Alliant Energy, I'm proud to present a rebate check in the amount of $74,250.94 to the City of Mason City.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Don't lose that, man.
Okay.
I'll get it All right. Thank you very kindly, Alliant. This is a public forum, and Mayor and Council welcome comments from the public on agenda items only during the public forum. You're asked to give your name, address, and the agenda item you wish to address, and you will have 5 minutes. And the clock is right up there in front of you, right up there in front of the podium. Just make sure you speak into the mic so the folks are on there.
Speaking is not an issue for me. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Brumish, and my address is 663 11th Street Northeast. I am here to speak on behalf of Action Item 27, which is creating the account for the dog park donation funds. Let me first apologize if I get carried away and go off script. You see, the committee that is working on this dog park is so excited and has so much energy, we tend to get off task with our dreams and our plans. If we were dogs, we'd be terriers. I tend to be a German Shepherd, so it's a little bit difficult for me. It scares me, quite honestly, how excited we get. But being that I have 5 minutes or less, I will behave. I'm well trained. We obviously would encourage your support of this action item. We know that the city has no funds, although you did just get $74,000. Okay. We are ready to go out and get the funds that we need. The creation of this account is a huge help for us. It helps us launch our campaign and gives us a place to store our money without us having to have all the accountants and everybody else that we don't have. The work that our founder, Carrie Crum, who's hiding back there, she doesn't like to do this public speaking part, has grown exponentially. She started it all, and we have got it moving. We've established a board of directors with incredibly dedicated people and talented people. It's amazing who we've got working. In addition to our Facebook page, which started it all, we now have a website and, of course, the email address. I've also got little cards of information so that you can all keep track of what we're doing, and they'll be available for anybody who wants the information. We have huge interest in this project. We have so many volunteers who are able to help. We meet twice a month already, and our agendas have included lots of planning so far. What amenities we would like to have in our park, how to get community input on our park, how to educate the community, how to seek the grants and the funds, and how to raise the funds for our park. One of the next steps we're going to do is go ahead and have a logo campaign so that everybody can have an identifying marker on what we're going to do behind our park. We have plans to be traveling to other parks to experience what works best. We're doing lots of internet research. We're consulting with the experts on what we can and cannot do. The closest dog park to Mason City is Waterloo. And believe it or not, people do actually drive their dogs. I know people who drive their dogs to Des Moines, people who drive their park dogs to the city, because that's how important it is to socialize your dogs. Now, we're going to be able to save some gas for those people because we're going to have a dog park here in Mason City. And that makes it not just a Mason City benefit, it makes it an asset to North Iowa. So we're also going to make some kind of plans to include all of North Iowa in our campaign. When all is said and done, we want a great place for dogs and their families in this community. The dogs will become better canine citizens through their interactions with other dogs and safe off-leash training. Families of those dogs will definitely have a good time. If you're a dog lover and you have not seen dogs at a dog park having fun, you have missed something special. It can be a huge benefit to this community, and we are excited to get to work and bring it to you. On behalf of Rico, Leica, Lydia, Ranger, Logan, Kona, and Maggie and Gracie, who are just a few of the canines that are very anxiously awaiting this dog park, we thank you for your vote of support, and they cannot wait to get to playing in this park. And I have those cards.
Thank you, very kind, thank you. We're really excited about it as well.
Hi, my name is Tammy Munson, and I live at 2009 South Madison here in Mason City. I work in social media, so I'm going to kind of keep this short to the point. That's kind of how we do things. And I'm here to encourage you to support the dog park, action item 27. My family and I are pretty new here to Mason City. My husband and I and our two daughters spent 6 years with my husband serving in the Army, living all over the United States. And we were very fortunate to be living in a number of cities that had these kinds of dog parks. We love taking our dogs with us. They go camping with us. When we were living in Colorado, they were going hiking with us. They are a part of our family. And when we moved here, we were really surprised to see that Mason City did not have one. It's such a wonderful community. You guys have welcomed us. I mean, it's been unbelievable. But we were really surprised that there was nothing for us to do with our dogs. As dog owners, dog lovers, and dog advocates, we really would love to see something like that. We have two really large dogs, a Lab and a St. Bernard. And while we're really fortunate enough that our yard at our home is large enough that they can run around and they can do stuff, but they really need to exercise, and it's really not a very good place for them to kind of just run and socialize with other dogs. One of the other things, like Laura had stated, was that it's really a wonderful thing to watch dog owners and the dogs interacting with other families, other community members, as well as the other dogs. It's just a really wonderful thing. And I really, really encourage you, and I hope that you will vote on this to support this. So, and the one last thing is that it's not just about for Mason City, it's all about for North Iowa as well. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Mason City, by the way.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Easley.
I haven't had a chance to pester you folks for a while, so I thought maybe I better get up here. I hope you'll approve number 20, and I was excited to see that the Music Man Square made its total, and I'm hoping that more contributions will be able to come in for the band shell. and I noticed this nice little letter in the paper today talking about how marvelous it was to go down to East Park and hear the band play. So, and free, they emphasize. So, I'm really excited about this. I think it'll really make the band shell look better. And everybody should stop down there and see how it's going to progress this summer. And thank you to everybody that's had a hand in this.
Thank you, Ms. Easley. Yeah. All right, seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. As I mentioned, we're pulling number 22, and I'll read that now. 2 minutes, regular minutes of May 17th, joint work session minutes, and special minutes of May 24th, 2011. Claims dated May 19th, 26th, and June 2nd, 2011. Number 4, permits. Number 5, mayor recommending approval appointment of Steve Palmer to the Human Rights Commission. Number 6, administrator recommending approval of designate Thursday, June 16th, 2011 as dump pump drive transit free day in Mason City. Number 7, administrator recommending approval of appoint hire Captain Swift as a probational firefighter. Number 8, administrator recommending approval resolution approving the purchase of concrete solid plates from Mason City Rental of Mason City, Iowa for the operation and maintenance department, specifically water utility. Number 9, administrator recommending approval resolution award of contract to Midwest Roofing of Mason City, Iowa to replace the existing membrane roof on water reclamation facility on the administration building. Number 10, administrator recommending approval resolution award of contract to Spear Financial Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa for CIP bonding and future financial advisory needs for the city of Mason City, Iowa. Number 11, administrator recommending approval resolution award of contract to contracting for construction of 19th Street Southwest and Mason City Creek Culvert Widening Project, STPU 4822-628-70-17. Number 12, administrator recommending approval resolution approving an encroachment permit for Rouse Cafe, 5 South Federal Avenue for use of public right-of-way, and that's in the plaza downtown for a sidewalk cafe. Number 13, administrator recommending approval resolution adopting the Mason City Title VI Plan Insurance Agreements in accordance with the Federal Title VI Program Guidelines. Number 14, administrator recommending approval of flood 2008. A, resolution accepting warranty deed from 718 North Hampshire Avenue. B, resolution accepting warranty deed from property located at 1019 2nd Street Northeast. C, resolution accepting warranty deed for property located at 104 South Madison Avenue. And D, resolution accepting warranty deed from 2306 26th Street Southwest. Number 15, administrator recommending approval of resolution determining the necessity and fixing date for a public hearing on the matter of the adoption of the Mason City 2011 Residential Urban Revitalization Plan. Number 16, administrator recommending approval of resolution approving amendment number 2 to the Vision Iowa contract, extending the completion date of the project for the city of Mason City, Iowa. Number 17, administrator recommending approval resolution approving a change order with McKennis Excavating in conjunction with Federal Avenue Streetscape and Utility Improvement Project, which is accessed directly off Federal Avenue by the Dollar General Store. Number 18, administrator recommending approval A, resolution award of consulting contract to Bernie Lowe and Associates Inc., Ankeny, Iowa for broker consulting services for the city's self-funded health insurance plan. B, resolution award of contract to First Administrators Inc. of Des Moines, Iowa for benefit services related to the administration of the city's self-funded health insurance plan. And then 18C, which is the addendum, administrator recommending approval resolution authorizing the submission of a COP Secure Schools SOS grant to the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Community Oriented Policy to assist with the development of school safety resources and provide the improved security at schools and on school grounds, affirming agreement to partner with the Mason City Community School District or SAME, and authorizing execution of grant agreement upon application approval. Do any council members want to pull any of the items? Mr. Weaver?
Number 5 and number 13.
All right, anybody else?
18C.
Anyone else down here? All right, we'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda for everything but 5, 13, and 18C.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Tornquist?
Yes.
Solberg? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Dickey?
Yes.
Marsters?
Yes. Motion carries. Number 5, is there a motion on number 5? Mayor recommending approval appointment of Stephen Palmer to the Human Rights Commission.
I'll move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion, Mr. Tornquist?
No.
Ms. Solberg?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Tornquist?
Yes.
Solberg? Yes. Dickey?
Yes.
Weaver?
No.
Marsters?
Yes.
Nelson?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you very kindly, council. Congratulations, Mr. Palmer, on your appointment to the Human Rights Commission. Number 13, Administrator recommending approval resolution adopting the Mason City Title VI Plan and Insurances Agreement in accordance with the federal Title VI program guidelines. Ms. Weaver, do you have a motion?
Well, I guess I'd like a, if I make a motion to table, what happens, Mayor?
You can make a motion to postpone it to a certain date.
Can we have discussion with that? Let's postpone.
Why don't we just have a motion to approve, and then you can put a motion to postpone on afterwards? That works very well particularly.
Is that, how do we do that?
All you need to do is just make a motion to approve, we'll get a second, we'll discuss, and then if you don't like what you hear, you can put a motion to postpone on it, if it passes, we'll move forward.
All right, so move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, you know what, we had an agenda item tonight, poll number, it was 22, where we're gonna move Mr. Meyer out of the human resource business and put Kevin Jacobson in the human resource business. And then we were gonna move Mr. Meyer to, I guess to keep his pay level up, to Assistant City Administrator.
Point of order. What's this have to do with 13?
I concur.
Uh,
Does this sound?
Well, I'll tell you what it has to do. If you read your stuff, Mr. Hickey, we're gonna give this to the Tom Meyer. And I felt that with all the shuffling that's going on, this would be something we needed to include in our discussions when we get to all meet together, I guess, when 22 is pulled by Mr. Trout for a workshop session to talk about it. I'm not so sure that is the proper place for it to go. And I understand through City Hall that Mr. Meyer is not too thrilled with taking on this duty either. So my point would be is that even though it's telling us here, and we're on notice that the language that will be needed to be included in all written agreements and bid notices to follow compliance with this program applies to items of the IDOT and the federal funding sources. So our staff is determined that we're going to include this new language. So we're on top of our game. Any new contracts or whatever happens, we know what we have to do to abide here. What I don't understand is the shuffle in City Hall, and before we give this to approve this and hand it over to Mr. Meyer, I felt that we should just wait a minute, decide where everybody's gonna land, who's gonna receive all the lean and efficient is all I'm trying to do. We haven't had a communication yet amongst ourselves. What we've done is we've polled the council, which I think we directed Mr. Trout here a couple years ago, that we didn't like polling. We would just assume, and that's where we got our council work sessions fired up. Because we didn't like to be polled in your office one at a time or two at a time. Item 22 that you polled, I think, does have something to do with this, the duties that are going to be taking place by everybody, shared by everyone. And I felt that workshop would be a good time to discuss that, where it's going to be, what more duties are going to be. I mean, I hate to see this thing get included on in the way the City Hall works now. It's another $3,000 in a pay bump because I'm taking on these duties. So I think we have a lot to talk about. It's obvious we have a lot to talk about. So I just thought we would include this. And with that discussion, and when we see the lay of the land and who's going to do what, then we know better where this is going to go. With that said, I'm not shirking our duties here. We've been put on notice. It's posted on the front hall of the city hall, the lobby. So we've been put on notice by IDOT, and I don't think we're gonna miss any language here. I think it's gonna get done, Mr. Trout. Don't you think it'll get done?
Yes.
No matter if we pass this tonight or not, it's gonna get done. I just felt this would be relevant to discuss at that work session, something that we haven't done lately, and that's probably why you pulled it off the agenda tonight, because we're probably not ready to deal with it, I would assume. And by the way, your comment in the paper was that you talked to council members and decided to pull it. You didn't talk to me.
This would be a wrap. I don't know what that is.
So I just assume that when we do this discussion for the public, it's all about giving good government. I just want to get on the same page with the rest of you and understand what we're doing here. So I just thought we'd postpone this tonight.
Mr. Trout, would you like to address this question?
Sure, I would. As far as the requirement and the decision to make the city attorney, I don't see that changing, no matter how anything would get reassigned. Mr. Meyer reviews contracts, he reviews the language that's put into bids. So that role is something that will not change. That is part of what the city attorney does. And so I feel that that is one of the reasons that he is the right person for the job. He conducts training with others related on the staff for different things, so training the department. And that doesn't require, we may even look at using Mr. Foster in order to conduct some of the training.
Who's been doing all the work so far?
Right now, it's not been done at all. When we got told that we needed a Title VI program, we did not find one. There was not one that existed. And so we brought forward my staff. I delegated out the creation of the plan and all the different parts that were required for it. And so staff created it, and we had our meeting with the DOT on Monday, and they like what they see.
Yeah, I still just thought that we could be included in our discussions and what's going to happen. Because I don't actually know what's going to happen. I mean, it's kind of confusing to me.
Well, at this point, sir, I don't know what's going to happen either. I mean,
Well,
why the
that's
discussion
all I'm saying.
occurred.
That's why I assume, postpone this. We're aware of it. We're going to abide by the rules, and let's discuss it and see where all the duties shake out. So I'd move to postpone if I could.
You want to have a further discussion? You want to
Sure,
postpone
I'd be
right
more
now?
than happy to have further
Mr.
discussion.
Nelson?
Yeah, we've gone through two city administrators, we have two interims, and Brent, you've been here 4 years. So in my 11 and a half years, this is, all of a sudden, this came up. I guess, I have heard, I'm not saying there is, I've heard there could be a conflict of interest with our city attorney doing it. These are questions I'm presenting to you. Lionel Foster, to my knowledge, has been involved with the Title VI for over 35 years. I guess I just question, like Max, I'd like to have a work session on it and some of the questions and issues that I think could be generated by being aired tonight, talked about in a work session. So I support Max in tabling this issue. Thank you.
Well, as far as the item, as far as the, who is doing, there is Title VI responsibility with civil rights, with the Human Rights Commission. I've had a discussion with Lionel Foster about that. Their ultimate responsibility does lie with them when it comes to Title VI. But this program is the city's program, not the Human Rights Program. We have a responsibility to ensure that this language is in the contracts. That's what my charge is. Every other city is going to be required to do that too. Not every city has a Human Rights Commission. So them being responsible for this program is not a key in order to have a program. And I think that it will still involve Mr. Foster in the program. He has the most knowledge. He is the most, he's actually going to conduct a training session for them. But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be our staff that's doing it. Mr. Foster does not report to me. And so if I assign a program such as this, that's a requirement of the city, to somebody that I don't have responsibility for, granted, I believe that he'll take care of that program. But I think that the charge lies with the city, not with the Human Rights Commission, in order to have a Title VI program. And what other questions were there that you wanted to answer? Go back and that I didn't answer. Oh, the conflict. The issue relative to conflict, I don't believe that there will be a conflict. The issue will be brought forward if there is a complaint. that something isn't correct, Mr. Meyer's responsibility will be to analyze what is brought forward to them and work to try and find a solution. I don't see there being any conflict. That's a requirement of anybody that's assigned as a coordinator. So I don't think that there will be a conflict relative to it.
Thank you. Are you concluded, Mr. Nelson? Anybody else before we move to response? Mr. Tornquist.
Well, the last comments by the city administrator are kind of where the rubber hits the road for me. I had a number of the same questions that have been expressed here tonight. I gave Brent a call this afternoon. We talked for 15, 20 minutes about this singular agenda item. And the bottom line is, as a city, we're held accountable to have this program in place. And the fact is, the Human Rights Director does not report to anybody in the city. He reports directly to the Human Rights Commission. And so, given that it's the city that's held accountable for this particular piece of the program, it behooves us to have it be a city function. Now, whether Tom Meyer is the right person to have this responsibility or not, I don't know. But I do know that we've hired a CEO to run the city, that's Brent Trout, and I don't think it's within our purview as elected people to get into the day-to-day operation of the city and who's going to do what. I think we need to give the CEO of the city the latitude to make decisions, and then if ultimately those decisions don't work out, we hold him accountable. But I think there's a problem holding him accountable if we don't let him make the if we don't permit him the opportunity to move forward on his recommendations, we diminish our opportunity to hold this person accountable. So that's my take on the whole thing, and I happen to support the recommendation for the reasons we discussed this afternoon, but even if I did not, for the reasons I just articulated, I think the right thing to do would be to give the city administrator the latitude to make this decision. That's what we've hired him to do.
Thank you, Mr. Tornquist. Anybody else before we move to response? Mr. Hickey.
I just want to get one thing straight. I think it was brought up by Councilman Weaver that there could be possible salary increases. There's not going to be any possible salary.
No.
You're just going to delegate it to Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Hopefully, and this is what I would like to see, and I'm sure you, from hearing you speak, if Mr. Foster is a viable resource, then we can utilize him to help us with this, and I'm all for that if that's what we can do. I'm going to agree a little bit with Mr. Tornquist said, and exactly, you are our city administrator, you know what best makes our city run. As my colleague to the right of me, let me know once we all won popularity contests, and we really don't maybe know the best decisions, and always to help make the city run better and smoother. And I think that's what we paid you $144,000 for, is to make them decisions. It's our job to support you and then help make the city move forward. So I'm going to do that, and if we, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Anybody else before we move to response? Mr. Marsters.
Well, I just kind of have a question with all the documentation that we have in our packet, but shouldn't it really say, instead of the city attorney, shouldn't it say the human resources manager to begin with, and just totally drop city attorney? I mean, it's really whoever's doing that position, especially with what you proposed that was originally on the agenda tonight.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it would be that person.
It may be the city attorney at the moment, but if changes get made, then it may not.
But it really relates to, and I learned even more talking to Mr. Foster on this subject, it relates to contracts, federal projects, federally funded projects and contracts, which is a process that oftentimes is handled. The other option would be, you could do the city engineer. I mean, the key though is that there are other parts to the program besides just reviewing the contracts, the training and so forth, that I see him having some expertise in. The key is that that's what it relates to. It's the contracts that we have relative to federal projects when they're bid. That is probably the primary reason for this program, is to make sure there's no discrimination relative to the pursuit and awarding of contracts to people within the city, so that those of minority, race, et cetera, have the opportunity that they should have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsters. Ms. Solberg, do you have anything before I go to?
I just wanted to double check on the wording of the resolution here, and I don't believe back here it says anything about the city attorney. It just says that we are going to establish the policy. So I think I'm good with how things are going, and I'll be supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solberg. Mr. Nelson, you have a response?
Yeah, I guess I pretty well know how city government works, Councilman Turnquist. It's also my role as a city councilman to ask questions at this setting. So I think it works. And I think if you talk to Mr. Trout, I've always handled things in a professional manner. Thank you.
Mr. Weaver?
Well, Mr. Trout, really, I've heard different things come out of it. You want to give this, you're promoting tonight, you've already said it, that you want to give it to the city attorney. And you don't want to give it to, continue it. You told me that Lionel, we haven't had an Article 6. Well, that's really not true. Lionel's the only person over the years that have told me about mandates and federal statutes and stuff, that civil rights and our contracts. And I just want to refresh your memory. City Attorney Tom Meyer doesn't work for you either, so you don't have anything over him either. He works for the city council, doesn't work for you. The other thing I want to also say is Ms. Solberg brings up a good point. In the resolution here, it doesn't say whose duties are going to be, but inside the packet, Ms. Solberg, it does say the city's contract for the program will be the city attorney who will be responsible. So what you said is, I appreciate what you're doing, and that doesn't spell out in the resolution either. So I agree with Mr. Marshall. That's my whole point here tonight. We're going to be having a discussion about organizing here in the next couple of weeks. We know that we're not going to break any rules here now. And so I just thought, you know what, let's just postpone it, let it be part of it. I tell you what, we've been doing this now for several minutes. We obviously have a lot of comments and questions and things we want to say. We might as well just do it in the workshop when we talk about your reorganization that you're bringing forward. Because I'll have a lot of questions for you there, and who's going to do what, and who's going to explain what, and how's that going to work. I mean, we hired Ray Weeds, Mr. Mayor. If you'd give me a chance, Mr. Hickey, you might learn something. We hired Ray Weeds as a human resource person. I think we paid him somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000. We hired Bill Maxey for human resource. We paid him $45,000 to $60,000. And we're willing to give the job to Mr. Jacobson for what, $6,000.
Call over.
So I think we have a lot of things to discuss. So that's why I wanted to postpone it. I hate to see the political lines be drawn here.
Mr. Weaver,
Of who likes who or who does who. So what I'm asking you, Mr. Trout, we're really not clear here. From even your comments tonight, you told me that Lionel has nothing to do with Article 6, but yet you agreed with Mr. Nelson. You shook your head yes, that over 31 years he has had something to do with it. And you're shaking your head again. So I'm saying...
It's pretty simple. The city code says that Title VI overall responsibility is his. There was no program. When I asked, now Mr. Foster said that if somebody would have come and asked him, there would have been a program. Well, none of my staff knew about the program. And as far as specific Title VI, they understand civil rights requirements, so therefore it's been in our contracts, but not specifically civil rights. And guess what? We were the 4th community in the whole state to be asked to do this inspection, and they like what they see. So they did not say that we could not have the person that we had something.
I agree with you, Brent. All I'm saying, I got my time here, 3 minutes.
Councilman Weaver.
You're taking my last 10 seconds, but I don't disagree with you, Brent. What I disagree with is who we're directing to take care of it when we're reorganizing.
Do you have a motion to postpone or do you not?
I'll make a motion to postpone.
All right, is there a second? Second. Okay. Call the roll.
Weaver.
Yes.
Marsters.
Yes.
Hickey.
No.
Tornquist.
No.
Nelson.
Yes.
Solberg.
No.
All right, motion fails. Is there any other
Call the
response?
question.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
No.
Okay. Discussion continues until we don't have anyone. We have Mr. Tornquist, Hickey, Marshall, and Solberg that response. Anybody down here?
I just wish we wouldn't make this all about personalities. I think our city administrator's got a great plan. I think he wants to incorporate also Lionel Foster, our human rights director, in it. And again, we're just making it personal. I guess certain individuals, and I wish we wouldn't do that. I wish we'd learn to work with our staff and let them do the job that they need to do to get this accomplished. Thank you.
Anybody else want to respond? Mr. Marsh?
I'd just like to respond to that. I mean, what I'm asking for is just a work session so we can sit down with appropriate people, including Mr. Foster, and discuss it, so we really know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Anybody else?
Yeah.
All right.
You okay with it?
You want a motion to extend debate? You're welcome to do so.
It's okay.
All right. Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Weaver,
No.
Solberg,
Yes.
Hickey,
Yes.
Marsters,
No?
Nelson,
No.
Tornquist.
Yes.
All right, resolution fails on a 3-3. All right, number 14. Actually, let me back, before I move on, is there any time sensitivity to this? Just out of curiosity?
No, they'll be back in a few weeks.
Okay. All right.
Just the election.
All right, thank you, Council. We're on 18C here, Administrator recommending approval resolution authorizing submission of COPS Secure Schools SOS grant to the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Community Orientated Policing to assist in the development of school safety resources and to provide improved security at schools and on school grounds. Affirming agreement to partner with the Mason City Community School District for same and authorizing execution of grant agreement upon application approval. I believe Mr. Hickey, you pulled this.
Yeah, I want to move to approve. I
Give
know
us
what-
a second here.
Second.
All right, Mr. Hickey.
We got this late, and I really haven't had a good chance to go through this and talk with you over it. Could you just explain this to me a little bit?
Sure. Probably the primary purpose is with the work that they're doing at the school now, they've identified a need to put some new security cameras and systems into place with the reconstruction, with the new construction that they're doing. And this is a way that they can fund that without having to take it out of their funds, this grant program. They'll provide the matching funds, so that's what its primary purpose is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Anybody else? Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat with the addendum. Is this a continuation of the service we provide now?
Yeah, let's see. I think we've approved others in the past for different types of camera systems and so forth. So it's similar to what we've done in the past. I don't know if it's called a continuation, but it's similar.
Explain the camera situation to me, Brent.
Well, it provides cameras for the school that they can monitor areas where there aren't people that can actually overlook those areas. So it provides them the opportunity to centrally monitor what's going on around the school.
And where's the match come from?
Match comes from the school administration.
And how much is that match?
I don't remember right offhand.
And where are these cameras going to be located? What for?
They're part of the John Adams Middle School. I don't know specifically where. That's their decision.
So the really bigger question for me is here, am I supporting putting cameras in the school now? I actually voted no on putting a police officer in the school the first go-around years ago. I don't think Chief Lashbrook was here, the school resource officer. And it's become much more than that. It just kind of, the camera thing. I voted no on cameras in City Hall. I'm kind of, then we had the private citizen put up cameras in Elmwood Cemetery. And so, is that what this is all about? Just putting cameras in the John in middle school? What about Roosevelt Middle School?
Some of the schools, I can't remember exactly which schools, but some of the schools already have them in place.
Well, could we get, you know what, this would be one of those situations where maybe more information from the school district, what their policy is and what they're going to do, would be more forthcoming for me to make a decision to see what is it their plan is, and because we're obviously becoming a partner with that. So, in the addendum, when did we get that, yesterday, last night?
Yes,
Okay, so
it is time sensitive. The full application is due on Friday.
Oh, whose mistake was that to take it off the 12th hours?
It came from the school when they did the analysis that they had with regards to what their needs were, and then the program came out, and they made a decision finally to make the application.
Yeah, I got another issue like that tonight. If I'm in compliance with the program, I can get some money. If I don't get some money. So, all right, I guess I got enough information. I think we use this round of funding. I think we're going to be okay. We have officers on site at the schools, don't we? They are in the schools.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Anybody else?
I bet I helped make Travis's mind up.
Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Hold on, our response.
All right, fair.
Is there any city money being used to fund this?
No, sir.
Well, sure there is. It's a matching out between the school system.
Hey,
Any-
this is Vicky's time.
Any city, other than school money, there's not any of our city money?
No, there's no city money.
What's
Okay.
the difference?
So, anyway, we have a hard enough time micromanaging our own operation. I have no interest in micromanaging the school operation.
Thank you, Mr. Vick. Mr. Turnquist, on response.
Councilman Hickey's correct. It's not our role to determine where cameras are in the school system. That's the school board's role. And all of those people are elected by the community. And if people in the community have an issue with what the school board's doing or where cameras are, they need to take it up with the school board. We're just being, this is not a whole lot different than the partnership we have with Newman on the FEMA shelter that's being built out there. We're partners in paper only. This is a local school district initiative, and I'll give you a chance here in just a second. Our police chief is recommending approval, and I think I'd like to believe that our police department knows more about what's needed in our schools to keep them safe than we do. They're feet on the ground, so.
A couple comments. One would be is, every year since I've been here, we have been involved with this year Secure Our Schools grant applications through the school system. It's with the Community-Oriented Policing Services Program. The schools can't make application on this on their own. It has to come through a law enforcement agency of the local jurisdiction, so that's why we're involved. I think the grant application in total is $200,000, so the 50% match from the school system would be about $100,000. As far as cameras in the schools, they have proven to be of value to us in certain types of investigations that have gone on there, some that we consider to be pretty critical. We do have school resources officers there, but just like anywhere in the city, we can't be everywhere to see where it is. I think if you look at the trends across the world and across the nation, our schools are targets. And there are people out there that mean to harm the children in our community. And I think that is where the Mason City school system is coming from when they're talking about this type of implementation of the project.
Mr. Turnquist, this is your third time.
No, thank you.
Do you have any additional comments on that, Chief?
No, thank you.
Anybody else on response? Mr. Weaver.
I appreciate that, Chief. You know, I'm sick of hearing that too about our children and their safety and their targets. We're targets. Listen, if somebody wants to get you, Chief, you know it. You'll be the first to say it. They can get you. No matter what, cameras, whatever. $200,000 at this time, and it sounds like they already have cameras in the school system. Sounds like that's what I just heard you say. Cameras are working. So I guess, and here's the role we play, Travis. Somebody's going to get crosswise somewhere, one of our citizens, about spending money and the cameras, and you know what the school board's going to say? Well, we didn't have nothing to do with it. We went through the city council approved the grant. So I'm just saying, I don't think at this time, on top of the $35 million project they got going out there already, and our cameras ought to be pointing out into the parking lots to protect our children, or you know what? I guess I'm cameraed out. The rest of you can get all paranoid and feared out and scared and do everything for the dogs and cats and children.
All right, Councilman.
It's a lot of money.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Motion extend debate.
Second.
Okay.
Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hickey.
I hope you got this, Mr. Marquardt. I'm tired of kids' safety and hearing about their safety. I don't care if we spend $50,000 and it helps one kid, it's money that's well worth it. And that's why I stand on that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Solberg.
Due to the fact a couple of weeks ago, I had a great niece that was killed, this is very important to me. Kid safety is important.
Anybody else?
How come we didn't put cameras on the streetscape?
Mr. Weaver, would you like to be recognized?
That's fine.
Anybody else? All right. We've got a motion and a second. Kind of debate. Call the roll.
Hickey,
Yes.
Tornquist,
Yes.
Marsters,
Yes.
Solberg,
Yes.
Weaver,
No.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, council. All right, now's the time for public hearing. Now, number 19, administrator recommending approval resolution adopting plan specification form contract and estimated cost for the 2010 CDBG disaster recovery sanitary sewer repairs. Project B, bid tabulation. C, resolution awarding contract to McKinnis Excavating Inc. of Mason City, Iowa for construction of 2010 CDBG disaster recovery sanitary sewer repairs project. Now's the time for public hearing. If you have comments you'd like to address the council on this subject, you take the podium. You have 5 minutes. All right, well, seeing none. Is there a motion and a second to adopt resolution A and C and accept the bid tab?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Mr. Turnbull?
I'd just like to point out that basically what we're going to be able to do as a community here is $5 million worth of work towards improvements in our sanitary sewer system that's been identified over the last several years. And we're doing that for a $500,000 community investment. That is to say, we're doing $5 million worth of work for about 10 cents on the dollar. And staff has done a great job of running the paperwork and the application through the processes to make this money available to us. And this is pretty significant. Were it not for this grant, the community would, over the next, pick a time frame, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, we would have had to have done all this work ourselves. And so this has basically relieved us of about $4.5 million worth of expense. So it's really pretty huge.
Thank you, Mr. Turnbull. Anybody else? All right, seeing none. Clerk call the roll.
Marsters,
Yes.
Tornquist,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Solberg,
Yes.
Hickey.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, council. Number 20 is also a public hearing. Administrator recommending approval resolution adopting plan specifications, form contract, estimated cost for construction of the East Park Band Shell exterior restoration project. B, accept bid tabulation. C, resolution award of contract to Larson Contracting of Lake Mills, Iowa for construction of the East Park Band Shell exterior restoration project. Now it's time for public hearing. If you have any comments you'd like to make regarding this item, you are welcome to take the podium. We'll have 5 minutes, box right in front of you.
Cheryl Garrett, 1152 East State Street. First of all, how much money and what kind of bid tabulation are we talking about? And how much city money is going to be used?
How much city money is going to be used in the?
No, this isn't a change, it's a public hearing, she has the right to comment. And when we get to discussion, you guys will be able to answer any questions you'd like.
I couldn't hear her.
Yeah, I can't help your guy out there, Mayor. You're welcome, Brennan.
When structural engineer after structural engineer say that the band shell is not structurally stable, when we know that it's in a floodplain, when we know that it's too small, that the municipal band, the people that would play there, choose to play someplace else, when we ignore the professional opinions of the musicians that play there, you have several large trees that grace that area. One of them falls on that roof. We all know that place will be history. If something happens with the wiring, and if you have, it's way too small for any type of venue. They use the portable Muse Norris stage during band festival, and they had to move it way across. We're just pouring good money after that. I'm all for history, but you can't make a soap purse out of a sow's ear. We're supposed to be noted as a town that prides itself on its musical heritage. And yet you take a look at our band shell, and then you go to Clear Lake, and you take a look at their band shell, a town that, even if you count their summer population, is half of ours, and there's no comparison. There's no comparison with the acoustics. There's no comparison for the musicians. You know, it's served its day, and if somebody wants it there for historical purposes, but it's outlived its usefulness.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. Anybody else on this item? All right. Seeing none? Clerk call roll. Motion. Oh, we don't have the motion, I apologize. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Fair enough, let's have a discussion.
Is that motion for A, B, and C?
Yes.
Anybody? Mr. Marsh. Mr.
Well,
Marsh.
I would like to answer her question on for the public, that it says in our packet that 50,000 comes from a grant, the remaining 7,000 comes between general funds and private donations. And private donations are pretty much going to take care of 7,000. So, anyways, and thank you, Ms. Easley, for the private donations.